Hello.
Hello. I don't
Hello.
I don't think have we ever met before?
No, I don't think so.
Don't think so. I know your folks, but not not you guys. It's, well, it's good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you as well.
Eh,
And my
na-
husband wants to say
na-
something really quick.
Nice to meet you, brother Matt. My name is Bayardo. My English is little bit. uh, thanks for support us prayers for nuestra family. Thank you.
Yeah,
Eh,
we're it's really neat to have someone that comes out of our community, out of our church that's on the mission field. So
yeah. Uh, my wife will share you now.
okay, sounds good.
Okay. So
Um, so you guys are in Ecuador.
yes, we're in Ecuador on the coast.
Okay, and I've been reading your newsletters. You recently moved in the last year or so, is that?
Yeah, we've been here almost 7 months.
Okay. And so yeah, why don't you just share a little bit about what your ministry looks like maybe normally, and then we'll talk about how things are going right now.
Okay, so I'll start with a little bit of history about about Ecuador first. And first of all, we're so thankful to Skoke Church for your commitment to our family, to your generosity in supporting us, and we're very thankful for your prayers as well. It's been a real blessing to us over the years. We're really grateful for that. In Ecuador, as you know, is a pretty small country. It's geographically, it's about the size of the state of Nevada, so it's not very big, but we have 16 million people here. So in relation to the situation with coronavirus, we have about 30,000 cases right now and almost 2,400 deaths. And that's been since Valentine's Day was the first patient that entered Ecuador, and she unknowingly came from Spain with coronavirus. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on here. I don't know if you've seen the international news at all, but Guayaquil, a big city here on the coast, has been in the international news. And let me just reassure everyone, it's not nearly as bad here as it is there. Guayaquil is a city of about 2 or 3 million people, and it's really, really bad there for a variety of reasons. But we're in a different province, about 4 hours away from Guayaquil, so our situation isn't nearly as desperate or drastic as what's going on there. But anyway, what our normal ministry was like before quarantine, Bayardo was doing about 4 different meetings. We have 4 different meetings throughout the week at the church with youth, Bible study, prayer meeting, Sunday meeting, all those things. Oh, a men's meeting also. And also in the at night, actually, Bartha would go with another brother from the church, and they would go do discipleship Bible studies at about 4 or 5 different places. And so I stay home with the kids, we homeschool, so I'm more the at-home support for him, running around, and he has his office here at the house too, so he's around a lot, but he's always studying or running in and out. So that was kind of our normal life before. And then the quarantine came and all of that stopped. So we're all at home now, and we started doing WhatsApp recorded messages for Bible studies and different things, but then we got introduced to Zoom, and that's a new technology for us we didn't know about before. So I think the entire world's on Zoom now. I think that's all we're about now is Zoom meeting for this and that and the other, which is really great. Yeah, and we're learning it. We're not big technology people, so we're crawling out of the cave and learning new things. But anyway, so now Bayardo is on Zoom 4 times a week now. And I'm on Zoom once a week with the ladies as well. And we're doing a study on, it's very appropriate, on fear and anxiety. And it's been a fantastic study. It's for 6 weeks and it's free. It's also in English. It's actually, the original is in English by a company called Love God Greatly. Anyway, it's all online. And so we've really been enjoying that. And we've been doing it as a family as well. And that's just brought great peace to our hearts. We weren't too worried previously, but you know, there are lots of ups and downs that come with this quarantine thing. So that's just digging deeper into God's word has really brought a lot of peace to our hearts and lives, as well as the folks in the congregation. Let's see here. That's kind of what we're doing right now. So we're just having a lot of great family time and making sure that Bayardo gets his time to study and that the girls are quiet during that time.
Yeah, it sounds kind of familiar, honestly. I agree with you about Zoom. I didn't know it existed until 2 months ago. It's pretty neat.
Exactly.
And could you just share with everyone your kids, their names and ages? I know we've probably got some folks at the church that don't, they've never met you or don't know who you are.
Okay. Yeah, we have 3 girls, and Havilah is 12, and Kezia is 10, and Tirza is 8. And yes, all of those names are in Hebrew from the Bible.
Very neat. Very nice. So, let's see. So what are the challenges you're seeing? You shared a little bit about ministry challenges, but maybe some ministry and in the community in general. What is the quarantine or the virus? What kind of challenges is that creating for you guys?
Well, for us as a family, I think one of the biggest challenges has been grocery shopping. We now can only go out to buy once a week, and there are no taxis. We don't have a vehicle right now, and so that we would previously go to the store and come home in a taxi with everything we had purchased, but now there are no taxis. So it's been really, really challenging to get home with a whole week's worth of food. And so Bayardo is a very creative guy, and he likes to bike. And so he designed a bike trailer, and some folks at the church have a little shop where he could work with them to make it. So now we have a really nifty bike trailer, so we can walk and bike into town, do our shopping, and then bring everything home on the bike, and then I walk home. So that's been a great blessing and less stress. Yeah, it's a little, like a mile and a half into town, so it's not that far. So that's been a challenge that we've been able to overcome. And also the girls are getting anxious. They usually get out and get exercise during the week. We go swimming or bike riding or different things with them to the park, and now they're at home all the time. So that's been a challenge for them. They're very active. And so we had them inside for the first several weeks. We're in, I think, week 8, I think. Yeah, we're in week 8. But just the last couple of weeks, we started taking them out in the early morning to go on family walks. So that's been a lot better for them. But that's been another challenge. And also just like you guys are going through, the uncertainty, concern for family members that are far away, concern about finances, all of those things have been a challenge. And for the believers in the church, it's been even more so. Some believers are involved with agriculture or some kind of food production. Like one of the guys has a little cheese factory. And so he's been able to continue working, but other people have less work, and then some have no work at all. So that's been a challenge, but it's also been really neat to see how a body of believers, we can come together and support and encourage each other and make sure that all of our needs are being met. It's nothing in abundance, but everyone's needs are being met. No one is going hungry, and that's just been a great encouragement to see that, how people, we haven't even necessarily encouraged them, they're just coming together through the power of the Holy Spirit to take care of each other. as a church. And so that's been good. And even as neighbors, I mean, we have neighbors that are Jehovah's Witnesses, that are like very, very, very devout Catholics, and we're all looking out for each other and, you know, checking in, getting stuff at the store for each other, sharing what we have. And so that's been really neat to see how we've been able to come together with even our unsaved neighbors in that way.
Very neat. So I know I have a friend that's in South America, and he can only go shopping like 1 day a week. Is that similar for you guys? And could you maybe explain how they assign that or whatever?
Yeah, well, we all have a national ID card with a number on it, and it depends on the last number of our ID card what day we're allowed to go shopping. For example, my number is 5, and so number 5 and 6 are allowed to go shopping on Wednesday. And my husband is 4, so he can go on Tuesday. But that's only at the main grocery store and in the formal market in the middle of town. There are tons of other stores and just people that are setting up informal stands on the side of the road, and so you can buy from them anytime you want. That's not a big deal. And the little neighborhood stores are still open, so we can still get food throughout the week if we needed to go out and get that. But for the main things, the main market and the main grocery store, it's once a week.
Interesting.
And they require you to wear a mask and gloves. And also they've started taking our temperatures before we go in as well, which has kind of been interesting.
So there's a long line to get into the store, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Actually, last week I got sunburned because the line is out in the parking lot, and so I was like, wow, all that vitamin D I've been missing, I'm getting now.
Oh my goodness. So what have you? So you talked about this a little there in the last question. You've seen believers reach out. Have there been other ways in which you've seen the Lord working in unique ways?
Yeah, some of the ways the Lord is working is kind of funny. The guy that has the cheese factory here, he has 2 cars to do his he goes out to the farms and collects milk and then brings it back and makes cheese. And there was a mess up in paperwork, and one of his cars got they compounded his car basically, and it was completely locked up. He couldn't have it until the end of the quarantine, which is who knows when that will be. And so his business was suffering greatly because of it. And this colonel in the army came to him and said, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of kind of gift baskets for those who are very poor, who don't have any food, and would you donate milk to these gift baskets? And he's like, sure, I'd love to do it. However, I can't really help you right now because of the whole car situation, and I can't get to the farms very easily because I only have 1 truck. And so the colonel said, hey, let me take care of it. So he went to the impound lot and he did all this paperwork and basically got out the guy's truck so that he can now have both his trucks to continue working and also bless other people that need food. And he gave, I think, 100 liters of milk. They made 100 different baskets for those who are in desperate need. So anyway, that was just a cool, amazing answer to the prayer, because he called Bayardo and he was all distressed. What am I going to do? And how can this happen? You know, he was just really discouraged and frustrated. And just to see how the Lord totally worked out this situation was really amazing. And also another guy, Roberto, he lives out in the countryside, and we were just getting ready to start a Bible study where he lives in the countryside, because there are a bunch of his family members and neighbors that want to know more about the Lord. But then the quarantine came, and they've shut off the roads to the countryside. No one can get into town, which is horrible because they need things too, but they can't come into town. And so we were frustrated because we couldn't go and see them. And we had a Bible study that we wanted a little book that we wanted to give him. We've got tons of copies. So we had a bunch for him, but he couldn't get into town to get it. And so one day out on his farm, he fell and he hit his head. And they thought it was a concussion. And so they brought him into town, and they allowed him to come into town because it was a medical emergency. So he came into town, spent the night at a clinic. He was fine the next day. but we were able to go and see him at the clinic and give him all those Bible studies so that he could take them home and start studying the word with his family members and neighbors. So, and he's fine. He rested a couple days and he's back at it out in the campo, as we say. So that was also another incredible way that the Lord used that to get those materials in his hands so that he can continue to share the gospel out in the countryside. We can't go, but the word of God is with him and he has those studies, so he can continue on in that little ministry.
Very neat. Have you seen, I know here, because we're doing things online, we've been able to reach people that maybe we normally wouldn't. Have you seen any of that, or any in regards to that?
Yeah, I know we've been in contact. I think that is going on, but I know we've been in contact with a lot more people that we haven't seen in years. Like
Yes.
you guys are an example for that. I mean, last week we were at another meeting of people that I haven't seen in 8-9 years. So that's been really cool. In relation to the gospel, yes, that is happening, not with us, but with others that we've heard. Yes, they're doing huge Facebook and Zoom and YouTube videos, and yeah, people are coming to know the Lord and responding. Here with us, it's more actually a lack of technology has been a bit of a struggle with some of the believers. Not all the believers have internet, or they don't have unlimited internet. They can buy these little phone cards and they'll get like 3 gigas of internet and then that's it. And so it's been difficult to keep in contact with them, but more it's in the countryside. But we are still able to keep in contact via WhatsApp, and so that's been good. But it's been a struggle for some people, not for everyone, but for some. And then the Lord's also working in. I talked about this lady Narcissa in our newsletter that was recently baptized, and unfortunately her husband heard the gospel also, and he rejected it. He had no interest in the Lord, and he's had a lot of health issues, and he became ill, and he spent over a week in the hospital, and he passed away just last week. And so that's been obviously very, very difficult for her, and please pray for her. But also she's a new believer, and she is coming to understand the love of the believers and how the Lord is providing for her needs. She had no money to buy a coffin for her husband, nothing, like not $1. And so the church came together and paid for that coffin for him, and he had to be taken and buried the same day. They only allowed one person at the funeral. It was really horrible. We couldn't go to be with her. It was very tough on all of us. But because of social media, we've been able to stay in contact with her and encourage her and help her to get the funds that she needs to take care of all the paperwork. And she's back working at the market now with her little stall, but she's grieving. There's no doubt there, but she's learning how much the Lord loves her and how much the Lord is caring for her, even in this great tragedy of losing her husband. So that's been, I think, one of the most difficult things that we faced here in quarantine, was that whole situation.
Yeah, the ability to not be able to get together with people is just
It's
so
hard.
we're
Very
not
hard.
used to.
Yeah. But people are growing in their faith and learning to trust the Lord on a completely new level. And it's really exciting to see in our lives and also the lives of the people around us. It's been really, really neat to see just the calm that comes with putting all our anxiety in God's hands.
Well, that's neat to see. Yeah, it's so great that we can trust in Him during difficult times.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you for your time, and I know that I just want to end asking if there's what we can pray for you as a church, and I would love to pray for you once.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you had mentioned it also previously, just pray against discouragement. This is a very, very relational society, and not having that face-to-face contact is really, really difficult for people in this culture. Really difficult. You know, normally out on the street, you greet people, you give them at least a handshake, if not a hug. And so it's been hard. A lot of people have gone through real moments of discouragement, and so pray for people to be encouraged and in the Lord first and foremost, and encouraged with the ability that we do have through Zoom and other social media to be in contact and to have communion. Everyone is dealing with this, the financial needs of the believers. Like I mentioned before, some have jobs, some don't, and so that's a worldwide prayer request, I think, right now.
Yes, definitely.
We also have two expecting mothers at the church, and they're 4 or 5 months along. So what a time to be expecting a baby. I could not imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So pray for them and for their husbands and for their families, and also for the authorities in this country, that they would be wise in making decisions that affect all of us, especially economically. I know things are really difficult in the States right now, and Ecuador is even worse off economically than the States. We're 10 times worse. And so there are not marches against the government or anything, or against the lockdown like in the States, but people are just coming out and returning to their normal business because they have to, or their families will not eat. So they're on the street selling, they're opening their shops and letting down baskets to sell their wares from the second floor. It's kind of funny to see. But people are saying no more, and they're coming out and they're doing their best to work and provide for their families. And just pray that the government will understand that situation that they're in. There's so many very, very poor people here, and the Venezuelan refugees are even a worse situation than the poor people. And just that the authorities would be wise and make decisions that honestly benefit the people and not just themselves, which is the norm. So
Yeah, I bet. I know that we tend to complain about government corruption here in the States. I'm sure you understand it on a whole nother level, being down where you're at.
Oh yeah, the States is child's play.
Yeah. I've last winter, a year ago in January, I got to go to Haiti, and that was very eye-opening about
Yeah.
how things were. So
yeah, Haiti.
oh yeah,
Haiti's a great place.
yeah,
Maybe a little more than Ecuador.
yeah, we made it out the day before they shut it down. I don't think there have been groups in since like the day we left. But anyway, yeah, it was crazy. But well, thank you for doing this. I know people are going to be really excited to just hear this update, and so we'll keep praying for you. And let me just close our time, and I'll pray for you right now.
Sure, that sounds great.
Lord, thank you for Melissa and Bayardo and their faithfulness, their willingness to go to, as we were just talking about, a place in Ecuador that isn't the easiest. They have economic difficulties, political difficulties, and yet there are people that need to know you. And so, Lord, I'm just thankful to see people that are willing to do that, to go because the gospel is precious, because you are precious, because people need to know who you are and have their lives shaped by you and your word. And so, Lord, I just pray that, thank you for their faithfulness. Thank you for their continued faithfulness through this difficult time. And I just pray a blessing on them and encouragement. And Lord, we just pray for the folks in Ecuador, especially the ones they're ministering with who have been discouraged. Lord, in a different culture where it is more common. They're not maybe as busy going to and fro as we are in the States, and they're used to stopping and talking and visiting, and as she said, hugging and shaking hands. They can't do that. And so Lord, I just pray you would encourage them, strengthen them, as we've talked about. Thank you that as Christians, we know that our hope, even when things are different and changing, our hope is in Jesus. So Lord, I just pray you encourage them. I pray for economic situation that people have to go back to work, as she was saying. They're just so poor, they can't wait out anymore. And so I just pray, Lord, that the folks that are in that situation would be able to find work and feed their families and sustain themselves. And just pray for those who are hurting and struggling, perhaps hungry, and then thank you that the church body can reach out and help them. And I just pray for wisdom for Melissa and Bayardo and the ministry there as they seek to help these people who are hurting and hungry and needy. And Lord, I pray for the government leaders there, that they would just, as she was saying, so they would show, that they would consider the needs of the people more than themselves, and not come down hard, not punish people for disobeying the social distancing orders or the health orders, because Lord, knowing that they need to go back to work. And so I just pray for that, they'd have wisdom and that they'd be able to, perhaps, I don't know where they're at as far as stages of coming out of lockdown, but I pray that would be able to happen over the next few days and weeks and months. And Lord, we just lift that up to you. And I pray as well for these two expectant mothers. How exciting to have young families in the church and people and new life. But Lord, it's just a crazy time, not just for these two ladies, but I'm sure there are others with medical needs and access to good health care right now, I'm sure is very difficult. And so we pray for health, and we just pray for these two ladies, they would have safe pregnancies and births and whatnot as they move toward that. And so Lord, thank you again. I just thank you for this time we've had. I pray for just may we keep our eyes continually fixed on you, for you are our hope and our strength, and you are the one who helps us continually, Lord. So it's in your name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.